Have you seen this video? 40 evangelicals try to shut down this woman's metaphysical shop. These people mean well. It's evangelicals showed up in front of her shop. She goes on to tell them, I actually am saved. And they're like, oh, really? May this knowledge enlighten people and find the right hands. You can look into it if you want. What does the Bible say about divination? Several verses in the Bible are used to condemn divination, such as Deuteronomy 18:10-12. There shall not be found any among you who practices divination or tells fortunes or interprets omens. For whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord. Leviticus 19:26. Isaiah 8:19 mentions mediums and necromancers. But there is a deeper layer to this. The word divination in Hebrew is often translated from, I don't know how to pronounce this.
Strong's H, 7081, Kessin.
That's from Blue Letter Bible. That's a great place to do research. But the Bible's only the tip of the iceberg here, is where I'm going with this. It originally referred to certain forms of oracle communication that weren't necessarily forbidden across all contexts. Many prophets in the Bible performed acts that today might be considered divination, casting lots, interpreting dreams, or using symbolic objects for revelation. Theories on why this was mistranslated. One compelling theory is that the suppression of divination was politically and economically motivated, particularly targeting women's roles as spiritual guides and healers. Control over spiritual knowledge. In ancient cultures, women were often the oracles, priestesses, and seers who provided guidance to communities. The Oracle of Delphi, Egyptian princesses, and Babylonian diviners were key figures in their societies. By condemning these practices as witchcraft, and what's funny is on this video, somebody says, do they not know that this is how the witchcraft trial started? It's true. By condemning these practices as witchcraft or sorcery, religious and political authorities centralize power within the patriarchal priesthood. This is why people who, take the Bible as their only source of Jesus, their only source of who God is, and don't trust themselves, are being led down the wrong path. You don't know where things came from, and you don't know how it was supernaturally written, who wrote it, who actually wrote it. Was it written by man? Obviously not. But who do you think it was written by? Monetary control. The early church wanted to be the exclusive intermediary between people and the divine. Banning independent spiritual services such as tarot reading, astrology, or mediumship forced people to pay tithes and indulgences to the church rather than seek wisdom elsewhere. The same can be said for healing. Women herbalists were persecuted as witches while the church aligned itself with male-dominated medical systems, shifting power from inner to outer authority. If people realized they could communicate with the divine through their own intuition, whether through meditation, dreams, tarot, or nature, they wouldn't need an external religious institution. The church pushed the idea that only a priest or bishop could mediate between humans and God. This moved people's focus outward toward dogma and religious hierarchy instead of inward toward their own divine connection. What are familiar spirits? The phrase familiar spirits appears frequently in translations like the KJV, Leviticus 19:31, 1 Samuel 28:7, but this too is mistranslated. The term is a Hebrew word there, means a spirit vessel or one who calls upon spirits, but it is not inherently negative. Some scholars believe this originally referred to ancestral spirits or divine guides, not demons. Over time, the church twisted the meaning to associate it with demonic possession rather than spiritual communion. In earlier times, mediums and shamans were respected for channeling ancestral wisdom. The negative framing of familiar spirits was likely a way to demonize intuitive abilities and discredit women who acted as spiritual leaders. A holographic infrastructure of fear. You're right to question whether these fear-based teachings were engineered to keep people from looking within. The idea that truth is always out there, whether in a church, a book, or a leader, distracts people from realizing their innate divinity. Fear-based narratives feed the holographic reality we collectively manifest. When people believe they must be saved by an external source rather than discovering their own inner Christ consciousness, they remain dependent on the system. The church, government, and ruling elites all benefited from a society that was externally focused and spiritually disempowered. The suppression of divination, mediumship, and intuitive practices wasn't about protecting people. It was about enslaving consciousness. When people rely solely on external dogma, they lose access to the deeper reality that they are creators of their own world. Many biblical warnings against divination were mistranslated, misinterpreted, or selectively enforced to centralize power. The suppression of tarot and other intuitive tools was likely a way to disempower women as spiritual guides, keep money within the church instead of with independent mystics, prevent people from realizing their own divine connection, manipulate the collective subconscious to manifest a world based on fear rather than elimination. The truth is, the kingdom of heaven is within you. We were never meant to look outside ourselves for truth. We were meant to awaken to the divine within us.